Have you ever wanted to go international, not just with your business, but with your friends or with people that you hope to help transform their life from the inside out? How about having a business write-off for your international travel? That's always amazing, but the heartbeat behind what it is that we do when we create international retreats, or they don't have to be international, they can be right in the backyard. I did that as well, is so transformative. The connection, the intimacy, everything that happens in these experiences is truly a godsend. It's truly a miracle in the making. It's one of those things exceedingly abundantly beyond what you could hope for or imagine, because you're doing something pretty risky. You're taking someone and plucking them out of their comfort zone, out of their regular routine, out of their own home, out of their own headspace, and you're planting them, pluck to plant, right? You're planting them somewhere they're not familiar. Maybe they've been there before, but there is nothing like traveling with people, especially traveling with strangers. So be prepared. Know that if you are not a host, a natural born connector, if you're not somebody who's willing to take inventory of emotion, to take inventory of the things that somebody needs intimately, to be able to take a step back, because this is not a vacation for you, just to fair warn you. There's adventure, there's incredible things that you get to partake in, and your spirit is lifted and you might be rejuvenated by the transformations that occur. But I can assure you, on every retreat that I've had, my sleep has been limited, my time has been kind of segmented, but there is such overflow that occurs based on the transformation that you intend to set up. So that's kind of the first place. What are you doing? Why are you doing it? What's your heartbeat towards it? What's the transformation? In order to cultivate a business, no different than cultivating a brand and a band. I was going to say band. No different than cultivating a band. What are you doing? No different than cultivating your self-identity. Why? What's the passion point? What's the heartbeat? What is the outcome? So people are very we-centered, and I say we, very me-centered. When they come to your landing page, when they hear you talking about this experience, they're looking and sensing maybe your energy or your excitement or your ideation towards it, but what they're listening for is, am I gonna like it? Is this something I wanna do? Not only with my finances, but with my time, and again, with that know, like, and trust. They're literally handing the keys to their life, to their control. I'm a huge person of surprise, and not every retreat that I've ever been on has been very surprise oriented. If anything, they tell you exactly to a T what's happening that day. Even your free space is listed. Well, if you come on a retreat with me, you don't get all of those insights, all those details. And it's so funny because it's like gripping a steering wheel really, really tight when you're in maybe a huge downpour of rain, right? Like you're holding on with both hands. Your phone is definitely not in your hand. You got both eyes on the road. The windshield wipers are going really fast. That's like the first day of travel out of the country with a pseudo stranger other than us connecting virtually, right? They're saying yes to the experience. They're saying yes to the sales pitch. They're saying yes to the words and the language and the hope. They might also be saying yes to the previous experiences that they've seen or witnessed you go on. So if you're a traveler, a travel blogger, for instance, and you're like, hey, this time everyone can come with me to Puerto Rico, amazing. And they're gonna see the type of person that you are, the type of traveler you are. Are you staying in a hostel? Or are you staying in a bed and breakfast? Or are you staying in a luxury hotel? Or are you staying in a tent, right? They're witnessing you as you are presenting to them your being, brand, and business. So when you say, hey, I'm doing an international retreat or a retreat, they kind of already have a taste in their mouth of who you are and what you're about. But you still have to create a framework. So we're on this adventure day one, and they're like, oh, I don't really know what I'm doing. I don't know why I'm doing this, but I'm putting my hands in trust into Tamra or into you. And so day one, day two, it's like, okay, it's not as crazy with the rain. It's kind of a little bit lighter. They're feeling a little bit less in control, a little bit less, or a little bit more in control, but less grip, right? So a part of this schedule, this knowing what's happening versus what's not happening and allowing the Holy Spirit to lead you in that way, it's very different than what people are used to. They know when they want to wake up. They know when they're going to eat breakfast. They know when their kids are going to school. They have everything aligned, right? And so in an experience like this, and they're fully immersed, you do want to give them a sense of knowing. You want to give them a sense of relief. You want to know that today we're going to be doing something that's that's a little bit more less on your heart rate and more in your headspace, right? Maybe today we're doing a lot of relaxing. Maybe today we're not going on any adventure, but if you want to go shopping, you can, right? You want to weave into the experience every different genre of person and making sure that every day is not back to back jam-packed with all intense, right? Intensity. Whew. There's no sense of relief. There's no sense of release. And so making sure that you have this ebb and flow to your experience that allows people's energies to go up, their hands to be released, and they're jumping full force into the experience, or they need a little bit more grip, because that's a lot on anybody, especially again, if they're a stranger. All right, so I talked about schedule, I talked about why, I talked about building it and naming it and claiming the transformation that's gonna occur. Next, you're going to be broadcasting it and bringing people into the experience. So after they've said yes, they've put a deposit down with you. Generally speaking, I have a $1,000 deposit, and then from there, depending on how long, I give them, because I do mine a year out, I give them 7, 8, 9, and then depending on how long they're securing it, I give them a month-to-month breakdown. It has to be paid out at least 2.5 months before the international travel happens, and there's several reasons for that. Your final dues are done at that point. Your excursions need to be booked, and things like that are starting to take place and transpire, and you need their full commitment at that point, right? 2 months out, you're starting to give them packing lists. You're starting to give them COVID test regulations, travel regulations. You're starting to get them equipped for what is the experience going to be like when they're flying into this foreign country. Who are they looking for? What's the name of the taxi, right? There's a lot of moving pieces, and you want them to be as in control as they can, while also being able to release the stress and release the expectation that they need to do anything. I am so much about full immersion. Let them come and simply be. Take care of all of the little things. I even ask my people who are coming, what's your favorite way to take your coffee? Because coffee's kind of a critical. Like, they're waking up and they're in a foreign country, and there's people that they just shared a room with or a bathroom with or a space with, and everyone's a little bit like on edge a bit. They need to have the thing that's comfortable to them. And to me, a comforting thing is the way I like my coffee. So providing that, also allowing them to explore the culture. That's like the massive point of international travel. Don't take them to another country just to see the beach and the water in another country and then stay held up in a house. No, take them out and about and experience the language, the people, the energy, the restaurants, the food. There's so much things to explore. It's why I love travel so much. So make sure you're layering that into every single day. I mentioned the Holy Spirit earlier, and this part is why hosting a Christian international experience or a faith-based or a Holy Spirit-driven experience is different than any other. Because I know the transformation that I would like to see happen, but I also know God will provide more. I know He's in the waiting. I know that He's in the midst when 2 or more are gathered. And so every single morning I plan to wake up earlier than I usually do, which is already pretty early, and I would get my Bible out and I would get my journal out and I would be looking over the day's agenda, which was also very critical. I kept hold of, didn't tell them all the details again till the morning of, what do you need to wear? What do you need to bring? This is the plan of action today, right? But I would just sit there in the midst of the morning and I would be praying over a word, like, God, what do you have for the women today? And of course, the day before when everybody came in, I started to sense energy and how people were going to connect and whose story met whose story. And I knew a lot of the stories, but I still was unsure personality-wise how people were going to pair. And so that's another thing to think about, is if you know the backstory, which is a part of the onboarding process, and you are having phone calls with people prior to them enjoying this sign-on experience with you, it needs to be very experiential from day one, so that when you're bringing them into the fold, they're not a complete stranger. As I was mentioning earlier, they might not know other people, but you already know how to integrate them into the experience and into the community, right? Sometimes sisters will come on, sometimes besties will come together, and when that happens, you have to be strategically prepared to bring them into a community community, a unity, while also being willing to break up those comfort zones, because that's the biggest part of international travel. That's the biggest reason that I bring people on retreats. I want to jolt people, head, heart, home, and handbag. That's the business side of things. But the whole reason, that I do mind, body, soul alignment experiences is because nobody ever takes the time. We're moving at a supersonic speed. It's next to impossible. And so this is a time to do that. So if you're a business owner and you are looking to host a retreat of any sort, I would love to consult you, to help you in that process. If you're somebody who wants international travel and to experience it firsthand, I've had people come on my retreats just so they could duplicate them. That's amazing. That's an amazing way to learn firsthand while also getting travel experience in and meeting new people who could potentially come on your retreat later. That has also happened. They're like, I want to go with you when you do yours, because no one could duplicate this experience just like you do. It's exactly why you can have a business, a brand, and you are uniquely made out of your entrepreneurial thumbprint, out of your creation, because of who God sees you as and who He has purposed for you in the earth, right? So recognize that. So I went over schedule, curation, location, activities, up, down, all around, do all the things, cultural learning, gathering your people and making sure that you are doing the connection piece, the mission, Holy Spirit. He would drop that word in my heart every single morning. And then I would share that with the community. And I would say, today we're focusing on this. And that's where my Bible study would lead right after that. And so when everyone woke up and people were trickling in for their coffee, I was already in the heart and headspace to receive them and also to pour out. So make sure that you are fully engaged in your transformation, in your overflow, so that you are not overwhelmed, because this could be a very overwhelming experience if you let it. But I believe that God is here to shake up the world, to bring people into further connection and intimacy. And I think retreats could literally be added to every single business genre. I want to see how you're going to do it. And if you have any questions, you know where to find me. Ask them below in the comments, subscribe, ring a bell. I'm going to be giving you guys valuable content and information like this on the weekly, if not more often. So get involved, and I cannot wait to see you shine, soar, and travel. Invite me. I want to go. See ya.